Again, because of the social aspect of fair trade, the women are able to work together and address the men that have the more traditional viewpoints or feel threatened by their women working. And a lot of times these conflicts can be resolved. There's been a tremendous misunderstanding of what fair trade is in relationship to people understanding and embracing fair trade. And that's because the idea of fair trade is a little bit foreign for the women. It's an idea that was developed by Western institutions to create a fairer way of commerce. But for the people who are working as producers, they don't understand or necessarily see how trade is experienced by people outside of their own world. So it's hard for them to understand what's happening, and a lot of times because of language barriers and economic barriers, they can only trust and hope that what they're being told is true and what they're being paid is really a fair price. And the health aspects are related a little bit to the economic aspects, where because of the seasonality of knitting, for example, many women are knitting very long hours to be able to fill orders, and then later they don't have a lot of work. But during that time that they are knitting those long hours, sometimes they'll get repetitive motion injuries. Sometimes they're working at home and they don't always have very good home conditions to work in, especially if the family isn't supporting the work that they're doing, or it's relatively new that they're in this fair trade environment. A lot of the health issues can be addressed now that they're known through simple repetitive motion training, ergonomic training, and the use of additional tools such as masks to help protect the women from the dust, and exercises to prevent eye strain. Fair trade is experienced differently in the countryside than in the city. In El Alto, for example, fair trade provides an important foothold for women who have recently migrated from the countryside due to crop failure and pressures from climate change. They also migrate to El Alto and outlying city areas of La Paz in search of better educational opportunities for their children and also access to services such as internet and telephone. Meanwhile, in the countryside, challenges are different. It's dry in the countryside, and again, there's been a tremendous pressure from climate change. Here we're going to Irani, which is a small agricultural village outside of Cochabamba, which has been known for their bread making capabilities and also for their delicious watermelons and strawberries. Irani is a colonial city, 500 years old, and it has an active, vibrant community. Every Monday is the civic hour where the school children and the mayor get together and share stories and presentations with each other. At the same time, it is a place that's been drastically affected by climate change. Cows now have to be hand-fed. That takes a lot of time. There's no more grasses for them to forage on. There's rotations of water for agricultural production, and the wonderful strawberries and watermelons can no longer be grown in this arid region. The dusty dryness of Irani's markets also reflect the impacts of climate change on these valley people. The La Emilia Knitting Cooperative has been around since the 1980s. It was formed by a group of women looking to help make a difference in the lives of other women within the village. The Irani Knitting Cooperative has a compound that they're able to also rent out for other services, such as rooms and meetings. They meet regularly as well to knit and produce products, just like we saw the cooperatives in El Alto doing. The difference here, though, is that the women experience the benefits of fair trade in a different way. For them also, they have the same economic challenges, but also benefits, and they have the same leadership skills and self-esteem development. But this is realized in a different way, as they haven't recently migrated and are looking for a way to fit into their new community. Instead, they're facing their own challenges in their own home communities. Doña Gregoria, a local potato farmer living on the outskirts of Irani, always dreamed of being a mayorista, a wholesale potato seller, where she would go around to local farms and collect their wares for sale in the larger markets in the city. Her husband, however, had prohibited her from doing such work. Once he left, though, she was able to pursue that type of work on her own. So her work with the La Emilia Knitting Cooperative enabled her to gain the self-confidence and the organizational skills to become successful in the potato market. Gregoria now has her own stand where she's able to sell her potatoes, and she's well known and respected in the local markets. In addition, she's able to make extra money from her knitting and has assumed a leadership role in the knitting cooperative. She's recently been able to buy her own house and build it due to the income that she's earned from the new skills that she's developed. It's been found that people working in fair trade are able to apply their leadership skills in many different ways. Some go on to forming their own businesses, and others go on to becoming leaders within other community groups. Amelia Limey, seated to the left, of the group of women at the National Meeting of Women Entrepreneurs, is an example of such leadership skills and how they've played out in her own life. She's the only woman from the countryside represented in this national group of women business owners, and she's very proud of her position as being someone from the countryside who's able to communicate and work with urban women, many of whom have been professionally trained at universities. So, fair trade, with its economic benefits and its ability to help women raise their self-esteem and better manage their families and become educated in management skills and production skills, and also develop a very strong and important social network, has proven to be an incredibly important safety net for women in the developing world, especially as they've been impacted by challenges such as climate change, cultural change, governmental change. Fair trade again and again has been proven to be a point of stability and a point of hope in the lives of many women around the world.
Las alas de Bolivia, Lloyd, las alas